So hello, I'm Mr. Nip, and today we're going to be talking a little bit about neurotransmitters, definitely focusing more on the biological aspect of psychology, definitely more neuroscience, but it is something very important to focus on. So a quick introduction, neurotransmitters are a necessary part of our biology. There would be no neural activity whatsoever without neurotransmitters. They're a huge part of the nervous system, and partially as well, they're found in the endocrine system as well. And they're considered chemical messengers. Whenever I think of neurotransmitters, the first thing I think of is they are chemical messengers, and that's how I remember their functioning. And a little bit more about that will be discussed on the next slide. So here's a picture of our neuron. We discussed a little bit about the anatomy of a neuron already, but as you can see, here's the soma, right? The cell body. We have our axon. We have our nodes of Ranvier, as well as the myelin sheath and some dendrites. But basically, it zooms in on a dendrite, okay? And this is where our neurotransmitters are going to really work. This is where they're going to be doing their job, okay? So they have one neuron here and another neuron here, okay? So this is our dendrite, and this is our dendritic receiving part of the other neuron. And as you can see, they're labeled as the presynaptic neuron and the postsynaptic neuron. Basically, all this means is that this is the neuron that the message is being sent from, and this is the neuron that's going to receive that message. So what's going to happen is our action potential, our electric potential, is going to come down the axon, right? This is the stem of the axon. It's going to come down that. It's going to reach the dendrite, and it's going to reach these synaptic vesicles, okay? And this electric potential is going to cause these synaptic vesicles to go to the surface of the dendrite. Now, what's inside of these synaptic vesicles are our neurotransmitters, okay? They're being held in these vesicles and waiting for electric potential to come down and cause them to go to the surface, okay? These vesicles are going to reach the surface. They're going to then mold with the lipid bilayer, and they're going to release these neurotransmitters, all right? And now as soon as these neurotransmitters are released, they're going to try and go through the synapse, right? They're going to go through the gap, the synapse, and they're going to bind to one of these ligand-gated channels with receptors, okay? And basically all that is it's a protein channel that's going to let these neurotransmitters come and attach to them. And as they attach to these gated channels, right, this neuron is going to receive the message, all right? So these guys are sending a message from this neuron to this one, and basically they're being released into the synapse, and they're going to attach to these proteins, all right? And so that's how we get a message from this neuron to this one. And so these guys are constantly being used in your biology. They're constantly used in your system. Every time a neuron is carrying, every time you even move a little bit, right? That's part of the neural system, okay? Everything you feel, all these signals being sent from your brain, okay? They have to travel along neurons, right? And there's over trillions of neurons in your system, okay? So this is happening constantly. So there are many types of neurotransmitters, many, but the 9 that I want to focus on are these guys, okay? So for the first one, we have glutamate. It is the most abundant neurotransmitter in the nervous system. Abundant meaning the most frequent. It's the one you're going to find the most of. It is an anion of glutamic acid. And basically all the anion means, if we look over this chemical structure, is that it's an ion that's going to have a negative charge, okay? So this negative charge and this negative charge, one of them is canceled out by the positive charge of this ammonia ion, but these two cancel out and this one's left. So overall it has a negative charge. It is an anion. And basically this one is just helping memory and learning. So obviously it's very abundant. The next one is GABA, which is an abbreviation for gamma aminobutyric acid, and this is actually a neuropeptide, but it's going to be found in the brain, obviously. It's very, very abundant up there as well, and it's the main inhibitory neurotransmitter, okay? That's very important. GABA, whenever we think of inhibitory neurotransmitters, the first one we're going to think of is GABA, okay? Not a very complex chemical structure, but it's going to reduce neuronal excitability and regulates muscle tone. The muscle tone part is a bit of a side note, but the one that's most important is reducing neuronal excitability, okay? So, neuronal excitability, maybe your brain is over-functioning, okay? If you've ever felt anxiety, or you felt really, sometimes it could be just stress, but don't focus on the stress part, focus on how it's inhibiting neuronal activity, excuse me. And you can actually buy GABA at stores over the counter, just like you can buy melatonin over the counter. Okay, this is our third one. It is a hormone, though, but it can be used as a neurotransmitter. And what melatonin is going to do is it's going to regulate our sleep and our circadian rhythm. We've already talked about our circadian rhythm, but basically that, if you remember, is our cycle, our body's natural cycle throughout the 24 hours of being asleep and being awake. Like that one woman who lived in a cave and she only got 5 hours of sleep, not because she was keeping herself up, but because she never had natural lighting to keep her body in its natural circadian rhythm, right? So we have our natural circadian rhythm, and it's thanks to melatonin. This is going to help us sleep at night. As soon as you close your eyes, this is being released into your body, okay? So if you've ever heard somebody say, just close your eyes, try and sleep if you're having trouble sleeping, they're actually doing you a favor. You're going to want to do that because it's going to eventually help you fall asleep, okay? That's what melatonin's doing. Our fourth one is serotonin, okay? This is going to be found in the gastrointestinal tract, so your digestive system. It's derived from tryptophan, which is a chemical that you may have heard of thanks to Thanksgiving. It's going to be found in turkey. If you've ever been tired after a big turkey meal or turkey dinner, it's thanks to tryptophan. But that part of tryptophan has nothing to do with serotonin. Serotonin's actually going to regulate our stress and mood, okay? It's a major contributor to happiness. Helps regulate our daily functionings of mood as well as our stress. So the fifth one is dopamine. This one is going to be created in the brain as well, and it has many different pathways that it can be excreted from. It comes from L-DOPA, which is another big molecule that will be found in the brain. And this is going to help our mood and sympathetic nervous system, which we've already talked about. This is going to also be found in reward centers, and this is its main functioning, is it's going to be dealing with reward-centered functioning. So when your body receives some sort of reward, this is going to be released. Okay? This is going to make you feel really nice and happy. Our sixth one is acetylcholine, okay? This is created in our neurons, and it's part of the parasympathetic nervous system. This is something we've talked about. The parasympathetic nervous system regulates most of your passive body functions, and this is at the heart of that. Without this neurotransmitter, we would not have the parasympathetic nervous system. So it's going to regulate your passive body functions, such as heartbeat, sexual reproduction, and digestion. So if I were to tell you right now to stop your heartbeat, you couldn't, because this is passive, you can't control it, but what's controlling it is this system and acetylcholine, which is at the heart of that. No pun intended. Well, yeah. So these are endorphins, alright? these ones, these next three neurotransmitters that we're talking about, including endorphins, are not going to have you be responsible for the image because these images are very complicated, okay? This is actually part of the endocrine system, and as you can see, this is just one beta endorphin, and they're even larger than this, but they're neuropeptides, okay? And that's why they're so massive, is because they're peptide chains. This is going to control our emotions and euphoric sensations. So, to give disgusting examples, of course, because we are in a science class, one such euphoric sensation would be during the climax of sexual intercourse. This is going to be released at that time during orgasm. This is what's going to be released in your body. This is that fantastic feeling that you will feel in your body after sexual intercourse, thanks to endorphins. Sometimes this is kind of gross, but when you excrete waste as well, endorphins will be released into your blood. So after you excrete either bodily fluid or solid, sometimes your brain will release endorphins, so sometimes it might feel really good to use the restroom, thanks to endorphins. We're also going to be talking a little bit about cannabinoids, which is something that's going to be released in THC and found in marijuana. This is going to alter other neurotransmitters and the release of these neurotransmitters. This is why THC works the way it does. It's going to stop some neurotransmitters from being released. So just like GABA, it is somewhat, it's not an inhibitory per se. It's not inhibiting the way GABA does, but it is inhibiting by stopping other neurotransmitters and altering the release of some neurotransmitters. So it could inhibit, but it could also release excessive neurotransmitters. That's why sometimes you'll see bogged down people when they're illegally smoking marijuana. This is a lot of the reason for that. And our last one is oxytocin. Once again, this, as well as cannabinoids and endorphins, is not going to be part of your chemical formulas. But this is also a neuropeptide, okay? And it's used in part with the sexual reproductive system. Alright, so we already discussed one that dealt with the reproductive system, and that was our acetylcholine, right, with the parasympathetic nervous system. Well, this one is also going to be regulating social bonding, okay, and all stages of sexual reproduction. One such stage would be the production of milk in our females' glands in their breast, okay? So that is, some females will actually take this, some women will take this when they're pregnant to make sure that they have enough milk for their child. So really quickly, I want to discuss what reuptakes are, okay? Reuptakes are proteins that will regulate neurotransmitter quantity in the synapse. There are some people that will have issues with too many neurotransmitters being released in your body, and in general, most people, this happens to everybody. Not almost everybody, it happens to everybody, okay? Everybody at some point will have too many neurotransmitters being released into the synapse, okay? And what reuptakes are going to do is they're going to take up these neurotransmitters and recycle them. They're going to recycle the excessive neurotransmitters, okay? But too much reuptake activity can cause less neurotransmitter activity, obviously. This can cause depression. If you have too many reuptakes working, they're taking up too much neurotransmitters, this can cause your body to be bogged down, and this can lead to depression. Okay? Does that kind of make sense? How less neurotransmitters could lead to depression, right? There are many depression medications that are reuptake inhibitors, okay? So some double negatives here, you're going to have something that's taking up neurotransmitters being inhibited. So now these uptakers are being inhibited.